Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the Scouring demo. Today's video is going to be a guide on all the stats of the units. And I'm going to be showing the stats of level 1 units, level 2 units, and level 3 units. Anyways, the warrior or the swordsman for the humans does 6 damage per hit. To test this, you can easily hit a level 1 unit, and they just take normal damage from all enemy units. You can see 6 damage, 6 damage, and 6 damage. Alright, and a level 2 warrior has 40 more health than a level 1 warrior, and he does 8 damage per hit. You can see it's 8 damage. Anyways, warrior level 3 has 40 more health than a level 2 warrior, and he does 9 damage per hit. See here, it's 9 damage. Anyways, the level 1 Muncher has 240 health, and he does 12 damage per hit. See, it's 12 damage. The level 2 Muncher has 40 more health than the level 1 Muncher, and he does 15 damage per hit. See, 15 damage. Level 3 Muncher has 40 more health than a level 2 Muncher, and he does 18 damage per hit. 18 damage right here. Anyways, a level 1 Archer has 60 health, and he does 8 damage per shot. See, 8 damage. A level 2 Archer does 10 damage per hit. See, it's 10 damage. He has 30 more health than a level 1 Archer, and a level 3 Archer does 12 damage per hit. You can see it's 12 damage, and he has 30 more health than the level 2 Archer. And in the next part, I'm going to be showing the armor stats of level 2 and level 3 units, because they don't take pure damage like level 1 units. They actually have some kind of armor. Alright, here I'm going to show the armor stats of a level 2 warrior and a level 2 muncher. Both of these units have the same armor value, which means that they take the same damage from all these units. And to start, all the warriors, they do 2 less damage per hit. So instead of 6, one warrior does 4 damage. And the same damage to the level 2 muncher. 4 damage. And a level 2 warrior does 6 damage instead of 8. And the same to a muncher. And a level 3 warrior does 7 damage instead of 9. And the same to a muncher. Alright, and all of the munchers, they all do 4 less damage than they're supposed to. So instead of 12, he does 8 damage. And the same to a muncher. And a level 2 muncher does 15 damage normally, but he does 4 less damage, so he does 11 damage per hit. And the same to a muncher. And a level 3 muncher does 14 damage instead of 18. Just 14 damage. Alright, and all of the archers do 2 less damage to level 2 units. So instead of 8 damage, he does 6 damage. The same to a warrior. 6 damage. And a level 2 archer does 8 damage instead of 10. You see it's 8 damage. And the same to a warrior. And a level 3 archer does 10 damage instead of 12. And same to a warrior. 10 damage. Alright, now I'm going to show the armor stats of the level 2 Goblin Archer. To start, the level 1 and level 3 warriors, they do 1 less damage. And a level 2 warrior does 2 less damage per hit. Alright, and a level 1 warrior, instead of doing 6 damage, he does 5 damage. And a level 2 warrior, instead of doing 8 damage, he does 6 damage. Now level 9 warrior, instead of doing 9 damage, he does 8 damage. And now all the munchers, they do 3 less damage. So level 1 muncher, instead of doing 12 damage, he does 9 damage. And a level 2 muncher, instead of doing 15 damage, he does 12 damage. And a level 3 muncher, instead of doing 18 damage, he does 15 damage. Alright, and all of the archers, they do 2 less damage per shot. So one archer, instead of doing 8 damage, he does 6 damage. And a level 2 archer, instead of doing 10 damage, he does 8 damage. And a level 3 archer, instead of doing 12 damage, he does 10 damage. Alright, now I'm going to show the armor stats of a level 3 warrior and a level 3 muncher. Both of these units have the same armor value, which means that all these units do the same damage to them. And to start, all the warriors do 4 less damage. So the one warrior, instead of doing 6 damage, he does 2 damage. The same to a muncher. And a level 2 warrior, instead of doing 8 damage, he does 4 damage. The same to a muncher. And a level 3 warrior, instead of doing 9 damage, he does 5 damage. And the same to a muncher. Alright, and now all the munchers, they do 8 less damage per hit. So instead of doing 12 damage, he does 4 damage. And the same to a warrior. And a level 2 muncher, instead of doing 15 damage, he does 7 damage. And the same to a warrior. And a level 3 muncher, instead of doing 18 damage, he does 10 damage. The same to a warrior. Alright, now the archers, they do 5 less damage per shot. So the one archer does 3 damage instead of 8. And the same to a warrior. And a level 2 archer, instead of doing 10 damage, he does 5 damage. And the same to a warrior. And a level 3 archer, instead of doing 12 damage, he does 7 damage. Same to a warrior. Alright, now I'm going to show the armor stats for the level 3 archer. All the warriors do 3 less damage per hit. So the one warrior does 3 damage instead of 6. And the level 2 warrior, he does 5 damage instead of 8. And the level 3 warrior, he does 6 damage instead of 9. Alright, and all the munchers, they do 6 less damage per hit. So the one muncher, instead of doing 12 damage, he does 6. And the level 2 muncher, instead of 15 damage, he does 9 damage. And the level 3 muncher, he does 12 damage per hit instead of 18. Alright, and all the archers, they do 4 less damage. So instead of 8, the level 1 archer does 4 damage. And the level 2 archer, instead of 10 damage, he does 6. And the level 3 archer, instead of 12 damage, he does 8 damage. Alright, now I'm going to show the stats of the cannon. The cannons have 240 health. And they have no armor, which means they take normal damage, just like level 1 units. Level 2 units should do 10 damage. There you go, takes 10 damage. And also the cannons can't be healed, no matter what. They don't eat food, or they don't even get healed by the cure ability. Alright, and every time they do this big blast attack, each one of these pellets, they do 15 damage per hit. Right, and all these cannons, they do roughly from 20 to 60 damage. compared to how accurate you hit units. So if you hit right in the middle, that did 60 damage. And if you hit somewhat very inaccurately, then you go did 40 damage, and it varies a little bit. You can also hit units. You can see you can hit them in the middle. And the units that are actually close to the shot, the damage more. So around 50 damage, and this one took around 5. So the more accurate you are with your cannons, the more damage they do, but they don't do no more than 60 damage per mortar shot. This artillery ability. Alright, in the peasant, he has 60 health, and he does 3 damage per hit. His melee attack. See, 3 damage. And 3 damage. And then he does 2 damage to over 2 units. So you all have 2 damage. And then he does 1 damage to over 3 units. Alright, and when you research the bow's ability for the peasants, they do 7 damage per shot. See here, 7 damage. Alright, and the munchers and the warriors have the same ranged armor. Instead of 7 damage, takes 5 damage. The muncher takes 5 damage as well. And the level 3 warrior and muncher take 3 damage per shot. And the archers take just 1 bit more damage than the munchers or warriors. So level 2 archer takes 6 damage instead of a 5. And then level 3 archer takes 4 damage instead of a 3. Alright, now I'm going to show the armor stats of all the buildings. To start, the barricades and the orc huts, they take normal damage, just like level 1 units. See 6 damage. And then 8 damage. And then 9 damage. And the orc huts take damage. And the orc huts and the barricades are the only buildings that you can't repair. But if I tell a worker to repair, you see I can't select to actually repair this. But if you actually control an orc hut, then your repairs over time for free. Yes, if your workers are working here. Right, and the worker, he does 3 damage per hit to these buildings that you can't climb up on top. He did it twice, so there you go. 3 damage. And when he hits these armored buildings, so he can actually climb up, he does 2 damage per hit. Right, and all these warriors, they do 6 damage. These ground level buildings does 6 damage. And then 6 damage. And then 6 damage. Alright, and munchers, they do 12 damage per hit. And all the 2 muncher. And all the 3 muncher. And also when a worker repairs things, he repairs 20 health per tick. And he takes away 3 gold and 2 wood every time he heals 20 health. Alright, and warriors, when they hit these armored buildings, they do half as much damage. So instead of doing 6 damage that they do to these buildings, they do 3 damage to these buildings. So 3. And then 3. And 3 again. Right, and the munchers, they do half as much damage. So instead of doing 12 damage that they do to these buildings, they do 6 damage to these armored buildings. 6 damage. And then 6 damage. and a 6 damage. And also when the warriors climb up on top of buildings, they'll do the same amount of damage. Alright, here we can see that the level 1 unit does 10 damage when on top of the building. And level 2 and level 3 unit also do the same 10 damage. Alright, this is the end of the video. If you liked the video, you can leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe if you want to see more videos. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.